In the post-COVID world of business and marketing, there's only one question that matters. What's sizzling? Welcome to What's Sizzling, the podcast that discusses current business and marketing strategies, regardless of the size of your company or industry you're in. We have a new guest each episode that talk about their business and reaching their target market in their vertical and what they do to overcome their challenges. I'm your host, Mitch Levinson, founder and thought leader of Creative Sizzle. As always, with me is Lauren Pond, our SEO specialist and office manager.
Hi, Mitch. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited about today's episode. Today's guest star is Gail Niksic with Elderwerks Educational Services. And Elderwerks is a not-for-profit that provides education and help guiding families through that tough time when they have a parent or a family member who's aging in place or needs a facility or is suffering from some medical or other type of issue that requires them to, need some more attention than they need it. So, I'm really excited about having Gail on the show today because, again, it's just helping other people. So Lauren, it's not often that we get to talk to not-for-profits and people that help people in a time of need. And we certainly help a lot of not-for-profits and we certainly do business with a lot of businesses, but it feels so good when we are able to work and help people whose whole goal is to help people. So I'm really excited about that today.
Yeah, I am too. I think that as you and I get kind of in that age, our parents are getting to that age as well. And, we kind of become their caretaker or just watching over them. And it's nice to know that there are places we can go to help and to help guide us. And because it can be very stressful and it can be overwhelming. And the educational piece is very helpful. And I'm glad that Gail's on our podcast today to kind of teach us what the steps and how to make it better for our generation or other people.
For our listeners out there, tell me a little bit about your first experience with Elderwerks and what your impression was.
My first impression was the knowledge and how much knowledge they have about what's out there, the assisted living, the in-home care, just even the educational piece on their website, where you can look at different articles, different resources to help families. And Gail is so knowledgeable and easy to talk to that if everybody's like that with Elderwerks, it makes you kind of gives you a sense of calm to help through this process.
Full disclosure, they're one of our clients and we help them because, again, a lot of what they do is supporting people as they age and families to navigate through the process and, making sure that their loved ones are cared for during that time when they may be, more than they can handle. And it's never an easy situation for any family. I went through a lot of that with my mom when she passed of cancer and there was, it was a 10-year time period, but it was, 2 years of in and out of the hospital and in and out of places. And it was a hard time. So, I certainly can understand and appreciate that, this company is really designed to help people when they're in one of the hardest times of their life. So when we get back from break, we're going to be back with Gail Niksic with Elderwerks Educational Services. And we're going to talk about helping your loved ones when they get to that point. Stay tuned.
This episode of What's Sizzlin' is brought to you by the Chicago Real Estate Forum, the place where Chicagoans and people that live in the 7 county surrounding areas go to get their real estate information. ChicagoRealEstateForum.com is a great way to see available listings and find information about the area, all on the same website. You can also get connected to real estate professionals that know the area and can help with all of your real estate needs. Visit ChicagoRealEstateForum.com to learn more.
This episode of Creative Sizzle, What's Sizzling, is brought to you by absolutely nothing. We have nothing that we can say that will help drive traffic to your website except for every single thing that we do. And it's all contained in your traffic report. So if you're not getting any results and you think your marketing is worth nothing, you need to reach out to CreativeSizzle.com so that we can help drive quality traffic to your website so people buy. And now back to the show. Welcome back to the What's Sizzling podcast. Today we have Gail Niksic with Elderwerks Educational Services, a client of ours. And we're very excited to have Gail on the show. Gail, welcome to What's Sizzling.
Oh, thank you, Mitch. Appreciate it.
So tell me, how did you get started in the industry, in the business, in the not-for-profit for, helping aging families?
So a few years back, my sisters and I our mom was suffering from Alzheimer's disease. It was a very long journey, and the resources out there were just not as they are today. We all worked, we're just like, we put our heads together. What can we do? So we were very fortunate. We were able to get the caregiver we needed for the care for my mother. But at the same time, I was working in human resources at a bank, and our department had downsized significantly. And I said, I've learned so much, in terms of caring for our mother. And I said, I would like to learn more about the older adults and aging and what resources there are out there. So I was fortunate enough to start a position with an assisted living company and work and learn through them for years. After that, I started working for other types of organizations that helped older adults, whether it be independent, assisted living, memory care, and skilled. And then I was approached by Elderwerks in terms of helping. The model is simply this: it's helping all families when they're looking for care options for older or disabled adults, whether they want to keep them safely in their home or transition them to a community, by providing a lot of resources. So they themselves, the families, should have the tools so they can make an informed decision.
Yeah. And, I think that's great. Not only did I have to deal with a little bit of that when my mom got sick, and I had to deal with some of that when she was sick with cancer, but also, I have a stepson who has autism, and he's on the spectrum mildly, but, I know he's going to need some kind of care as an adult, and, making sure that he has the right place to live, the right place to stay, is surrounded by people that love and care for him. Obviously, understanding and knowing that world, there's just a whole bunch out there to learn. So, I think it's great that you offer that kind of service, mostly for aging, senior living and stuff like that. So tell me, when someone is in need of your service, like, what's the most common question you get, or how does someone start, or when do they know they need to call you?
It's really interesting because I think back to when the time came when my sisters and I visited my mother's own family doctor, and we asked the same question: how will we know when it's time to do something? And he turned to us and he said, you know what? He said, you will know. So really what's happening is you've watched the progression of your aging parent. They're starting to lose their ability to communicate, make good decisions. They're not able to manage their finances, things like that. So you're keeping track of all of that going on. So when is the right time to enlist the help? Well, I would say enlist the help by asking your siblings or any other family members and say, what can we do to make things easier for mom or dad? Should we bring the services to them? Should we talk to them about possibly moving them to a community? Because also you can say, hey, wouldn't it be nice that you don't have to worry about taking care of your home? It's a multi-level home. That home that you were raised in, 40 years ago is not the right home for your aging parent, when again, there's multiple levels. I mean, you knew that well, Mitch. It's just not, that shaggy carpeting just doesn't work for an older adult. So what can we do to make things easier for everyone? So one of the things, like I said, if you respect their wishes, you say, mom or dad, can we bring in some home care? If the home is not ideal, maybe you want to consider and discuss some options for them, but always involve the parent, because it's really about them. It's not you making decisions for them. It's really involving them. But start that conversation early, just preparing and say, mom or dad, if things start to change with you in the next 5 years, what do you think? What would you like us to do for you?
My wife and my stepmother, she lived in the house that she lived in and that my wife grew up in for 40 whatever years. And recently, she's been sick lately, and she's had some mobility and movement issues and things like that. And for 5 years, we've been having that conversation with her about, this is a big house. Maybe you don't need a big house. A condo might be a little bit easier for you. And, she was really resistant in the beginning. And when we would visit, she never left her house. The nurse that came to the house, and she left her house once every couple of weeks to go get her hair done, but for the most part, she never left her house. And, sometime through COVID, she decided, and, there were a lot of people that were helping her make the decision that maybe she didn't need such a big house. Maybe she could live in not really an assisted living facility, but a condominium that had support. So she started to look. She then moved. She's been there now 2-3 months. And, she's leaving her condo, she's out and about a little bit more often, and she's having a much better life, even though she has a lot of the same challenges that she had when she was living in that big house. And it took her a long time to make that decision herself. I think she's better off emotionally because she was involved in the process. And, maybe we could have pushed harder, or maybe we could have done things differently or whatever, but keeping them involved in that day-to-day conversation about their well-being and getting them on board with, showing them some of the activities and some of the cool things about different places and keeping them involved seems like it would be the right thing to do.
Yes, it always is. It makes it for a much more successful transition when everybody is on board and including the parent initially. For sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it certainly shows in my case, no doubt about that. So when they call you and they contact you, how do you work with them? And I know most of what you do is education, and that's why it's Elderwork Educational Services. And it's really teaching people what they need to do so they're informed. So where do they go, or where do you send them to get this information, or how do you give information to those families that need it?
So sometimes I have to say that sometimes people have attended our education seminar. So they've reached out to us in that way by giving us an evaluation of the seminar they just attended. And they said, oh, you just touched on this. We're really just starting to find my parent is starting to be a little bit more frail. We're thinking them not be able to stay in their home without any help. How do we get in touch with you? Well, you simply, email me, or you simply call us. And I said, what is the best way for me to work with you? We generally work on the telephone or email, and we have a few conversations, and I ultimately will give them those resources again, so they can discuss with the family and say, here, take a look at some of these communities. Let's go back and discuss what you saw, what you like, what you didn't like, and then present it to your parent. But don't bring your parent there until you've narrowed it down to a couple of places when you're considering a community. There's no reason to take them to 6, 7 places. If I give you a few places, that's fine, narrow it down. This is a conversation I had exactly today about narrow it down to 2, bring your mom and dad, get them involved. And then I also will suggest something about doing what they call a respite stay. So this is pretty interesting, Mitch. So you can say, if they're not 100% on board, you can say, mom or dad, why don't you try it where you like it and see if it's a good fit for you. So they stay there. It's like maybe 2-3 weeks. By the 4th week, they pretty much like, it's not so bad. There's 3 meals a day here. Someone cleans your apartment. They got to meet some new people. So that is really the best way to try. And I would have to say that it's 9 times out of 10, it generally works. And the best time to really try this is in the winter, because that's when people are a little bit down and out and say, I don't get to see anybody. I can't go play, canasta or mahjong. They're really getting, they're feeling the loneliness at that point. So I would have to say that method really works a lot. But again, I want to emphasize that moving to a community is a social model. This is not a nursing home. This is all about, it's bringing services to them when they need it in a social model.
And I think that's what you just said, interesting, between a nursing home and an assisted living facility or something like that, where they can be active. A lot of people in the world, in the United States for sure, have this kind of negative connotation towards the word nursing home. And it's, where, it's almost like what you would consider hospice today. I'm taking my parent to the last place they're going to live, and they're not going to even live there very long. And on the contrary, today, an assisted living facility, you could move in and live there for years. And it's a place where you make friends and you have social activities on a regular basis. And they, like you said, they feed you regularly, and you can leave and go out and hit the store and do your own thing. And all at the same time, living in a way that you need because of either your mobility limitations or your mental limitations, or for whatever reason you're there. But, and a lot of the apprehension, and I've seen it in my family, is a lot of the apprehension is, I've always done this. I've always lived on my own, and I know I can do it. And, making that transition or taking that next step where I need someone to help is a huge step to take as a parent, as an aging parent, because it now means you're entering a chapter in your life emotionally that might be hard to deal with. So I totally get that. And, but it's not the same as it used to be. And the connotation towards that word is just very, very difficult. So from my experience, that's why it's hard to get to that point. It's not only hard because you have to talk to your parent about it, but it's a hard conversation for your parent to have and want to have.
There's one point I'd just like to really bring up. You also touched on it. Really, it's important. Like, but let's say you have parents, and let's say the one parent is taking care of the other one. The other one is getting really tired when they're taking care of their loved one. So if your spouse is taking care of the other one, and if that spouse, their health starts to decline, how are they going to be able to maintain that? So it's better to say, maybe both of you should consider assisted living, because what value will he or she be to their wife or husband if their health is not where it should be? So again, we see that day in, day out, that people just feel so guilty. They're there to take care of their loved one no matter what.
That's a great point, because facilities like that are really not only for those people that need it, but for the family members that need it also in a kind of an indirect way. So as a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, you are funded a lot by volunteers and advertisers and sponsors and supporters and people that help you financially and with volunteer time. So how would someone, if they're listening to this and they've been through it and they totally get it and they want to, donate a few dollars to you, or they want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
They can reach out to us directly, 847-462-0885, 847-462-0885. Go to our website, elderwerks.org. There is a donate button on there for us. But, also just start the conversation. There's so many people who have been very generous with their time. Our office is in Palatine. We have many really small events going on, but they help with their sponsorship. We have a senior fair going on. That's another sponsorship that people can participate in. I was just mentioning that, sometimes the Girl Scouts have service hours that they have to do. They're happy to come by. And it's a good way for them to learn a little again about the aging field, in terms of, they didn't know that, they just know their own grandparents, something like that. But anytime anyone is interested in sponsoring something, we're happy to talk to them, and we certainly appreciate it. Any genuine interest in that, it's great. But we also publish an Elderwerks resource directory. We do get a lot of advertisers for that. It's generally a lot of people in the aging field that are advertisers for that directory.
That's a great resource also for those aging in place. I have my own CAP certification, and I'm a certified aging in place specialist for people that want to stay in their homes. There's a lot of remodelers that, if you're aging in place or someone and they're going to do some remodeling in their home, you're going to want to get that directory from Gail to find out that you're using the right remodelers. We had to, for my mom back when I was referencing before, we had to install a stairway, a lift, not an elevator, but a lift. And we wanted to make sure that we did it right with someone who understood not only what we needed from a physical structural standpoint with a lift, but also someone that understood what we needed kind of emotionally and from a support standpoint, because they are certified in the aging in place specialization. So definitely you're going to want to get that directory if you're experiencing that. And if you're listening and this really hit home, and you have someone that's getting into that point in their life where you might need to talk to someone about how to have that conversation with them, or where you should be thinking about, or what the process should be, or if you're looking for it, I would definitely get in touch with Gail. And, she has a ton of information that you can get from her. And again, that's elderwerks.org. Elderwerks is spelled with an E in the works area, ELDERWERKS.org. And Gail, as we begin to wrap up, is there any other information you want to share with our listeners? And
sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mitch, for that. So we do actually put out an email blast every Monday for our consumers. If you reach out to us via phone or email, we're happy to include you on that email distribution. But I do think you'll find it very helpful, because people have told us, gee, all these seminars are great. So even though, again, it's information that you might not utilize today, you might need it for down the road. Also, people ask us continually, we've got a sibling here, we've got siblings out of state, or we have my parent out of state. Is there someone that we could give them their name to help look in on my mom or something out of state? Yes, we do. We have professional organizations out there that you can reach out to someone. So we are really the go-to for a resource for anything you're looking at, for either in the beginning of the process, during the process. My ending, I say the message I would have to say if everyone is they can be proactive rather than reactive, because you have more options available to you when you're planning ahead rather than when there's a crisis. And do know when there's a crisis, you can certainly find resources and we'll be able to help you through it. But planning is always the best option, in my opinion, when you're dealing with older adults.
Yeah, so that's great information. So again, Gail, thank you very much for being on the show. We appreciate all the knowledge and education you've given us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, when we return, Lauren and I are going to wrap up our What's Sizzling podcast. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Are you having credit problems, or are you looking for someone to help you improve your credit score? Contact John Wilkinson with creditsolutionproblems.org. John is very versed and understands exactly what needs to be done in order to improve your credit score, get your credit back in line, and if you are looking to help people after the pandemic get back on track, John would be willing to work with you and your donation so that you can help those that really need it. Visit creditproblemsolved.org or call 866-850-9360.
This episode of What's Sizzlin' is brought to you by Jerstad Builders, building high-quality homes for more than 35 years. Jerstad Builders can create your dream home in one of their beautiful communities. Whether you're looking in McHenry, Poplar Grove, or Richmond, Illinois, or in Williams Bay, Wisconsin, Jerstad Builders will be able to build exactly what you need. Visit jerstadbuilders.com to explore their communities and view all of their available home models. Make your dream home a reality with Jerstad Builders. Visit jerstadbuilders.com to schedule an appointment today. Now let's get back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the What's Sizzling podcast, where we just spoke with Gail Niksic of Elderwerks Educational Services. Lauren, she really gave us a lot of great information for those listeners that have older family members that really need to know what to do, how to have conversations, and what are the steps in the process.
She did. It's very hard. Mitch, you mentioned your mom, when my dad was unfortunately passed away 9 years ago from cancer and he was in a nursing home. It would have been nice to have had somebody kind of in my corner, and my mom's in my corner to kind of help us with that process. I mean, even now, my mom has been in the same house and there's stairs, and I worry every day. So now I kind of got some guidance on how to broach the subject with her.
Yeah.
Because it is a tough thing to do with your parents.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult conversation. I've had to have that conversation with my dad and with my mother-in-law, and definitely not an easy conversation to have because our parents in that generation, they have a certain mindset and until they get to that point where they are ready, it's a hard conversation. But the information that Gail gave was great. If you are in that situation and you do give them a call at 847-462-0885, they will help you with the resources you need to not only have those kinds of conversations, start those kinds of conversations, but also where to look to get information and resources for, what to do once your family member is open to those conversations. So, definitely I would get in touch with Gail at Elderwerks Educational Services.
Right. And then also go to their website at elderwerks.org, because they do have a resource page that is filled with a lot of really good resources and articles and information. So their website is very good at educating people who need the assistance.
Yeah, that frequently asked questions page and all of those things where it definitely helps out a lot. So again, if you need a resource, you're in that situation, I would definitely reach out to Gail and the team over at Elderwerks Educational Services. So thank you for joining us this week on another episode of What's Sizzling. Each week, we talk about what's new in business and marketing, where together with our special guests, we share our thoughts on specific tactics and stories that will help you in your business or personal life. Make sure to tune in every Monday to keep on top of what's sizzling, and head over to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really does help out the show. If you would like more information on today's guest, becoming a guest yourself, or if you need marketing support, head on over to creativesizzle.com/what's sizzling. Thanks again. I'm Mitch Levinson.
I'm Lauren Pond.
And we'll see you next time.